Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Want to know why the money in your pocket today is worth more than the money in your 401k tomorrow? Well, the answer may surprise you.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, best-selling author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
What if I told you that the money in your pocket today was possibly the most valuable asset you owned, more valuable than the hundreds of thousands of dollars in your 401k, more valuable than the money maybe languishing over there at the local bank, or even more valuable than that annuity you just purchased? And yes, even possibly more valuable than the stock you own, which recently skyrocketed as a result of our economy coming raging back. Why and how could that dollar in your pocket be so much more valuable than the money you have saved for the future? Well, because, as we'll find out today, none of this is real. Welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, Mr. Reality Specialist and Fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we get started, let me introduce another very real person producing our show today, America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orender, along with other reality star here in the studio, Mr. Derek Hudson. All right, you asked Tony, how in the world can you make this outlandish statement that the money in my pocket today is worth more than the hundreds of thousands of dollars I currently have stockpiled in my 401k plan? Well, my friend, the answer is not found in the amount of money you have saved for the future, but the actual amount of money you get to spend of it before it's too late. You see, working in this field for over 36 years and meeting in person with over 15,000 savers, here's what I've learned about people. Most people make the mistake of thinking that what they see is what they have. For example, take that 401k of yours, and as we record this show on March 24th, 2021, assuming you had a good portion of your 401k in the stock market, you will notice that on paper, that 401k value has dramatically increased. But again, one must ask oneself, is that value real? In other words, what forces of nature are making some or all of that 401k balance that you see unreal? Let me explain. In the financial world, there are basically 6 financial forces of nature. I call them financial headwinds. And the problem with these headwinds is that most people cannot see them. But just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not real. Like a sailor sailing over the 7 seas, he cannot see the wind, but he knows it's there. If the boat is sailing against the wind will impede its progress. Well, money works the same way. The 6 financial headwinds that most people never see but are very real are as follows. We have taxes, fees, insurance premiums, interest on our money, inflation, and the very fact that as you get old, listen closely, is you'll probably need less. Now, problem is, all 6 of these financial headwinds are not visible to the untrained naked eye, but only to those such as myself who are trained and experienced in the art of retirement planning. Well, never fear, because today I'm going to share with you the perfect financial storm that's brewing right now and why having none of this is as real attitude about life and money, coupled with our proprietary split IRA concept, is going to be the key to you enjoying your money while you still can, and of course, without the fear of running out of it. You stay tuned. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. With the stock market at all-time highs and our nation's debt through the roof, there's a lot of uncertainty out there. Now may be the best time to safeguard more of your 401k. Let's get started today by logging on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Our Tony in the Trenches question, boy, this is a doozy. It says, with the recent $1.9 trillion stimulus passed by Congress, please explain to me why the stock market keeps going up and what this might mean for me and how much money I will actually have in the future. Well, Dave, that's a great question. And it leads to our concerns, I think, in studies about this problem right here. The public trust in the government has plummeted since they've tracked this. Look at how much the public trust has gone down over the years. Man, it looks like the stock market back in '08. Pretty scary stuff. And one of the problems we have because of all this stimulus is debt. Debt that is spiraling out of control, in fact, could be up as high as $30 trillion. So the question, as consumers, we have to ask ourselves, how in the world are we going to pay this back? Well, one of the ways they get this money back to the government is through something called taxes, a huge headwind indeed. Now, this came out recently. Let me remind you, these are potential tax issues, and I'm going to cover a few of them very briefly, and why you're going to be reminded that when we look at money in the future, depending on tax rates, none of this is real. Okay, let's look at the first one, Derek. First of all, reducing the estate tax that you can pass on. It's going to drop from 11.7 possibly down to about 3.5. Still, that's probably not going to affect a lot of people, but some people that's going to affect the amount of money they can leave their heirs with no taxes. I remember when I used to do estate planning in the 80s, you could only leave $600,000 per spouse. So you never know, it could get down to those levels. Go to the next one, Derek. There's discounting techniques, grantor trust. Oh, this is a biggie, number 4. Eliminating the step up in basis. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about the price of Apple stock as an example. And if you put money in after tax years ago, you'd have a gajillion dollars. Well, under current law, if you die with that Apple stock in that example, with all these gains built in with it, if it's a non-qualified account, when it goes to your heirs, they pay 0 in taxes. That's called a step up in cost basis. The new laws, if this goes into effect, somebody's going to still owe the taxes. Not good. Let's see what else they're thinking about. Oh, this is a huge one. Now, this affects a lot of our clients and would affect me because I love giving money to our kids and grandkids. Right now, you can gift to them tax-free $15,000 a year per person per spouse. I mean, that could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars of gift tax-free money you could hand off. Well, they're going to think about limiting that $50,000 for all donees. That's a huge reduction in gifts. Let's keep going, Derek. Yeah, I'll tell you what, let me focus on this last one. You can see there's a lot of things dealing with real estate. This is really huge right here. Let me read this. They're thinking about limiting the size of the IRA, 401ks, etc., that they may grow to. If they grow above some sort of magical threshold, they could put a surcharge on it. And you said, oh, that's crazy. When would they do that? Well, folks, in the 80s, they did it on large individual pension plans. If you hit a certain amount, they would put a surcharge. So this could be very, very much real in the future. So as we think about our none of this is real theme, I want to talk about taxes right now. So let's walk over to the whiteboard. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is what I deal with day in and day out. People come into me and they say, Tony, I've got this money in a 401k or IRA, and I'm worried about these taxes in the future, especially after you just showed that last stuff. So what can I do now to be more proactive and make this money real? Well, let's use an example of today. We know what the taxes are now. We know that. They're already published. The problem is in the future, they may be unreal. We have no idea whether they're going to go up or down. My guess is, based on all these trillions of dollars, they're probably going to go up, and they're already talking about that. So let's imagine person A has a $300,000 401k, and the other person's going to wait to see what happens. Well, right now, let's assume this person is in a 15% federal tax bracket and 5% state tax bracket. So that means if they needed $50,000 right away, drew that out, we're assuming this is pre-tax accounts, drew out the $50,000. If it was a 15% federal today and 5, that's 20% in taxes, right? 20% of 50,000 is 10,000. So they would net $40,000. In other words, they would have $40,000 after they pay the tax. Folks, you got to remember this too. People come in and go, I want to take out some money and pay off my home or pay off credit cards. Well, you got to pay the tax first, folks. The IRS is standing in line before you get to your money. That's just the way the gig works. But at least this is a known. So at least we know that $40,000 is in our pocket. We can spend it. It doesn't fall into fees. It doesn't have the effects of inflation. all these things that we worry about with these financial headwinds. But let's say you do wait for several years, and just for the heck of it, we're just trying to make this dramatic, they raise taxes to 35% on the federal level. So 35 plus 5 state, that's 40% of your $50,000 withdrawal means now they get $20,000 in taxes, which means you have a net of only $30,000. That's $10,000 less in your pocket. Now, folks, I don't know about you, but the reality that something like this could happen is very real. So when we ask this question, what is it really worth now versus in the future? Taxes alone are a huge, huge issue in trying to figure that out. Now, what I'm going to do, I've never done this before. We're going to come back with another Tony in the Trenches question. The reason I'm doing that is I need a separate whiteboard to cover a separate question that's really falls into this, none of this is real, and that is, what is the stock market really worth? And particularly if you needed your money back in March or April of last year during the pandemic, you're going to really find out that none of this is real. I'm Tony Walker. You stay tuned. I'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. It is estimated that each day over 10,000 people will turn 65, which means a lot of advisors selling a lot of annuities. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a second opinion from TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're back with another Tony in the Trenches. Boy, this was an interesting one. Tony, I watch your show and agree with most of what you say. Currently, I'm looking to retire soon, interviewing several advisors. I mentioned your name to one of them. And basically they said, stay away from him. I asked why, and the advisor said, because he's just going to put you in an annuity and you could lose as much as 20%, I don't know where they got that, of it if you surrender it. He went on to say, I've checked you out, you seem very legit, so why would an advisor say something like that? And I'd say, I don't know why they would say that either, because it's not true, unless there's one of two reasons. First of all, you have to understand a lot of advisors actually represent products from Wall Street, mainly securities products. Now, we offer securities products through Charles Schwab, and we charge a fee as well, but some of these fees are very high. And most annuities that are sold by advisors such as myself, we get a commission. We're kind of one and done. We don't get these recurring fees. So an annuity does not do well with the Wall Street model. Let's take a look at what money managers can make on your money. In fact, I say money managers, even like us, do better whether you do or not. The problem are these darn fees. So let's take year one. Let's say you had $500,000 and that money manager was charging 1.5%. Let's see what happens in year two, Derek. And it goes up to 522. Maybe the market went up. They take almost $8,000, but you're not really paying attention because you made money. Well, let's look at year three. And by the way, this happened in 08, folks. You lose your account down to 323. They still get paid. They still make money, even if you do worse. They get $5,000 roughly. Year four, it's trying to climb back, but it doesn't matter. They still get, in this case, $6,000. Again, we're basing this on 1.5% annual fees. Goes up to the next year. The market's trying to climb back. You're almost getting there. Let's go to the next year, Derek. Year six, you've got back to 461. You're not quite back to 500. In the meantime, they charge another $7,000. And then finally, year seven, finally, you're back to 526. They've charged $8,000. Drum roll, please, Aaron. Let's look at what happened here. You, the saver, over that period of time, made a whopping $26,000. The money manager on your money, remember, they had no skin in the game, made $41,000. So, folks, there are sometimes you got to follow the money. There are some money managers charging a lot of money on your money. So an annuity does not pay them a recurring fee. When we sell annuities, plus our Charles Schwab, it's something called the Split IRA concept, And I think a lot of times, sometimes advisors really don't understand retirement planning. So when they see somebody like me that works with savers, people who are more concerned with the return of their money than on it, they don't understand the importance of annuities. So let's walk over to the whiteboard, and I'm going to explain to you an example of what happens when the stock market crashes and you need money. And again, we're going to prove, once again, that none of this is real. We're going to imagine we have person A with $300,000, and just for the heck of it, every bit of their money, let's say, is in the stock market. Person B comes to Tony Walker Financial with $300,000, and they're going to take what's called their split IRA with us, and we're going to divide that up. We're going to put $150,000 in a moderate account with Schwab, and $150,000, in this example, we'll use a no-fee fixed indexed annuity, so there's absolutely no risk or fees. And yes, we would get a commission on that fixed indexed annuity, and as long as you kept it through the period, through the surrender penalty, there's no surrender charges. Again, you don't put all of your money in the annuities, folks. That's why a lot of people get into these surrender charges. Through our split IRA process, we're going to show you how you've got complete flexibility and you can make this money more real. Okay, so we go back in time. We're going to go to April of 2020, and let's say you were 100% in the stock market and you need $50,000 for whatever reason. Forget taxes and all that. You got to get $50,000. So let's say the market drops 30%. Well, that's a loss of $90,000 right when you need it. So now the account's down to $210,000, right? You have to get your $50,000 out. I'm not as good at math as I used to be. What does that leave you? It leaves you about $160,000. And you say, well, Tony, yeah, but if I just wait it out, all that money will come back. That's true, but you got to remember, you took $50,000 out of the account when it was way down. You're never going to get that portion of the loss back. That's why it's starting so low. You're not at 210 anymore. You're going to have to start at 160 and try to work your way back up. Really scary stuff. So how would our split IRA be different? How can we put more money in your pocket? Well, one of the ways we do that, you cannot take all of this risk. Remember, folks, we're specializing in retirement planning. I'm a retirement planning specialist. Most of our clients are over the age of 55. They're getting to a point in life where they can't afford to take risk, nor do they want to go back to work if the stock market crashes. It makes no sense. So our philosophy is, let's see if we can make the numbers work for you based on your situation with less risk. So in this example, again, we put $150,000 in a moderate portfolio that we would manage with Charles Schwab, and $150,000 in a fixed indexed annuity. After the first year, let's say, they say, well, I got to have $50,000 too. Well, fine. We'll take 35 out of Schwab, and we'll take what's called a 10% penalty-free withdrawal from the annuity. You can do that once a year, and that gives us our $50,000. Now remember, this doesn't have any risk, so there was no loss there. We just took the 15 from the 150, but we didn't take it at a loss. This over here, because we only have 1% in the market, let's say the rest is in government bonds and very conservative stuff, more than likely we're pulling that $35,000 out of the portion of the Schwab account that has less risk. So in this example, we are assuming that, let's say, half of this was in the market. So we're down 30%. What is that roughly? We'll just call it $22,000, but we're down on paper. Again, none of this is real if you're not pulling money out while it's losing. So our stock market portfolio over the year has gotten back to where it was because we didn't have to take anything out of that. We took money out of the portions of the account that weren't down. And folks, I hope you see how important this is, because if you don't have a game plan or a retirement planning specialist that can strategize and use safer products but still get you the money you need now while this money is more real, my question is, why not? Let me ask this of you. Why don't you go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com right now, click on that Let's Get Started button, and we'd be happy to meet with you about your situation. And as always, there's never a cost or obligation to meet. TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or call the toll-free number on your screen. Okay, what does the Bible have to say about all of this? None of this is real stuff. And did the Apostle Paul get the nail hit on the head with this? He sure did. Got some good stuff coming back. Let me find my cup of coffee. I'll be right back. One of the things we're known for here at Tony Walker Financial is our proprietary 401k rollover concept called the WorryFree Split IRA. And here's how it works. Unlike most money managers and wealth managers who tend to work with investors and speculators, their job is to try as best they can to grow your money with little concern for costs, fees, and risk. On the other hand, our split IRA concept recognizes the fact that savers do not wish to put all of their money at risk, but maintain a balance between enjoying the possibility of some stock market gains, but also without the fear of running out of money in the future. In order to accomplish this, our split IRA works as follows. Let's start with the first bucket. We refer to this as the immediate income and liquidity bucket through our current custodian, Charles Schwab. In this bucket may be all or some of your 401k plan depending on your level of risk. After we determine how much of your 401k or IRA we wish to keep liquid, we then will analyze your level of risk and select one of our 5 personally managed investment portfolios for you. Of course, should you decide to change investments to another portfolio over time, we will be happy to do so, and usually at no additional cost to you. Then we turn to the protection bucket. This is the bucket, or sometimes buckets, where the annuity will go. Why do we put the annuity or annuities in the second bucket? Because we're assuming any growth we might have would be in the Charles Schwab bucket. The annuity, fixed annuities, fixed indexed annuities, fixed interest annuities are meant for protection, and most importantly, their goal is to help you not run out of money. You see, an annuity is the only contractually guaranteed investment that can do this. Wall Street products can't do that, and neither can the products that we place with Charles Schwab. Only annuities issued by insurance companies can provide guaranteed income you can never outlive, something I call mailbox money. So if you are a saver, someone who is more concerned with the return of your money than on it, maybe you have a 401k at a previous employer. You might be over the age of 59 and a half and didn't realize you could even roll your 401k over to someone like us. Maybe you're just ready to use and enjoy this money that you've worked all your life to accumulate. If that's you, let's talk. All you got to do is log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button. We can either meet in person or we can take advantage of something that's absolutely free. We call it the free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, whereby you can talk to myself or one of our other well-trained fiduciaries to first find out what it is you have going on and how we might be able to help you. So take advantage of that now. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or if you like, simply call the toll-free number on your screen and let's get started. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Our Live Well, Die Broke moment is actually yours truly, who, according to the folks who supply our prized Tony Walker Financial water bottles, assumed they were being delivered to my funeral, which was supposed to have happened on March 11th, 2021. Well, lucky for me, as we record this show on March 24th, 2021, they were dead wrong. Which leads to my next point of the 6 financial headwinds we discussed, all of which are unseen to the untrained naked eye, but nevertheless very real. And that's the biggest unseen variable of them all, and that is this one, and I didn't mention it, and it's the uncertainty of the date of one's death. I often say to new prospective clients who ask how much money they'll need in retirement, I'll say, well, you tell me the date of your death, and I'll tell you how much you're going to need. That's why in my latest best-selling book, Live Well, Die Broke, I chose my date of death not as March 11th, 2021, as the water bottle company predicted, but age 79. Now, obviously, I don't know for sure if I'll be dead and gone by age 79, but when I put this date on paper, it reminds me that if this is true, I only have about 18 more years to really enjoy my money before it's too late. The reality is that after I'm dead and gone, none of this is real, nor the money that I've accumulated. You know, the Apostle Paul knew a thing or two about what's real and what is not. In 2 Corinthians 4:14, he says, knowing that he who raised the Lord Jesus will raise us also with Jesus, will present us with you. Now notice that Paul starts off this statement with the word knowing. Paul knows that one day the same God who raised Jesus from the dead will do the same for him. That this life, he said, will end, but he also knew there was a new life on the horizon. We see the same line of faith in Galatians 2:20, where Paul says, I've been crucified with Christ. It's not I that live, but Christ in me. And look at that. The life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and delivered himself up for me. Talk about none of this is real. Let's go back to 2 Corinthians 4:16 to see what Paul says. There you go. Therefore, we do not lose heart, but though our outer man is decaying, none of this is real, right? Yet our inner man is being renewed day by day. You see it there, folks. Paul is saying that this body that we're walking around in is really not real. If we live long enough, it'll start to wear out. These bodies of ours will over time lose shape and wear out, and even as Paul says, decay. Yet Paul is not finished reminding us that what's real and what is not real can also be found in 2 Corinthians 4:17. He says about the struggles we'll have is this: for momentary light affliction, what's the affliction? Living in the real world that's really not real, is producing for us an eternal weight of glory far beyond all comparison of what we think is real. So what do we do with this newfound faith in God who is promising to raise these old bodies up and restore us one day? You got to go to the next verse, which simply says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen, for the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Translation, what we see here on earth is not real. What we'll one day see in heaven is. Well, Tony, you say, man, that's some heavy stuff, but can we get back to the reality of how best I should be investing and spending this money before it's too late? And what about that split IRA concept you keep talking about? How can I try to utilize that to help me be more worry-free? To which I would say, absolutely, I can help with that, and we can really make that real. All you got to do is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and when you get there, just click on that Let's Get Started button, and you'll notice when you click there, there's lots of ways we can meet. You can set up a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call, or if it warrants, we can certainly meet with you in person at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices, or if you'd like, just simply call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. Next week, we got an interesting program. We're going to be talking about fish, lures, and what the financial world has to do with both. But you remember, between now and then, actually, none of this is real.